Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Cassie. I'm also known as KnittaCass or KnittaCass Creates. And this is my YouTube channel where we talk a little bit about what I've been knitting, patterns I've been looking after or enjoying, wanting to cast on, books that I'm reading, a little bit about my farm life and my family, and a little spice of mental health at the end. So grab your favorite beverage, coffee, tea, whatever it may be. Bring it over with some knitting or any kind of crafting. I've got my Pepsi here, as that's my unhealthy addiction. And that's essentially my morning coffee. So grab something to work on and let's get started. So first of all, I want to apologize for being missing in action. My last podcast it came out about 2 months ago. And so I greatly apologize for that. I have good intentions of podcasting bi-weekly, and I, for some reason, kind of fell off the track of that. I'm not sure why. And then I have that intention, but I never actually mark it on my calendar, and so it doesn't happen. So I'm going to be doing the family calendar today. I'm a little late for September, even though half of it's passed. That's kind of how things have been lately. So when I fill it out, I'm going to fill out the days that I'm going to do my podcasting, and I think that will help me be more accountable and see it as something to do rather than something that I'll do when I get to it. So thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for joining me if you're new. I'm going to be trying to get better about it, and hopefully I will have some steady content for you to enjoy. Secondly, let's get started with some whips. So the first whip I want to show you is the one that I am the most excited about. I have been designing a couple patterns on my own. And I have just finished a pattern for a pair of socks that my son Weston helped me create. So I was making him a pair of socks out of this colorway called Lichen, which is this really nice colorway with a bunch of different greens in it. Green's his favorite color. So I was kind of doodling in my little graph paper knitting journal where I create, and I was sketching some things out, and he helped me kind of revise it or make it look more appealing. He's really good about symmetry and aesthetic. I guess aesthetic's the wrong word because that's more of your flavor. He's got a creator's eye, designer's eye. So he helped me with that. So basically we have made this pair of socks together. This is called the Pinstripe Socks. And this is what it looks like from the side view. And unfortunately, a big chunk of this was attacked by my cat and not savable. So unfortunately, I cannot make him a pair out of the color he picked out, which is kind of sad. And then this is what it looks like from the front. It's got a nice simple 5-row repeat. I've got some test knitters working on it. Once again, it's called the Pinstripe Socks, and I am planning on releasing it on October 1st. So hang tight for that. It'll be on Ravelry. And because I ran out of the yarn to make a second one, and I'm test knitting my pattern, I'm working on the pattern with my test knitters, so I'm trying to knit along with my directions instead of from memory to see if it's clear, which even though I'm doing it that way, I'm still auto-correcting because I know what I want it to look like. So the test knitting process has been amazing. I had one girl who was just really great at the tech editing. She sent me my pattern kind of all marked up, but it was all consistency and how it looks aesthetically. I'm using that word a lot. How it looks layout-wise, really the tech editing piece of it. And then I've had a lot of questions from my test knitters. I didn't realize this till I wrote the pattern, but I apparently, when I was first learning how to knit socks, apparently did a couple things wrong and figured out a way to fix it without ruining the pattern. For example, I do heel flap and gusset. And somewhere along the line, rather than creating the slip one, knit one to start the heel flap on the last row of pattern, I have finished the last row of pattern. So say it's a 5-row pattern. So I'd finish row 5 completely, and then I would start my heel flap by going back purlwise. And then I would end up on a knit row, even though that's the row you have to start with to do your flap. So my yarn would be all the way at the end of the knit row, but it really should have been over here. So I would just do an extra purl row. Totally unnecessary, the whole thing. And I didn't realize that. And then with the toe, kind of similar things. And so a couple of my testers actually had explained, like, hey, this doesn't quite make sense, or it's usually written this way. And so they helped me formulate the toe especially. I mean, they helped a lot with the heel, but then when I got to the toe, and the way that they helped me revise it is going to allow the pattern to work on multiple different needle types. So I knit it in the round. You can also knit it on DPNs or magic loop, whatever your spice is. And if you were doing magic loop especially, my toe would have been very confusing to follow. So I'm very, very grateful to my testers. They are amazing, and I hope I can show them how thankful I am. Okay, back to this. So this is out of a colorway that I got for the Sock Week. If you don't know what Sock Week is, it is a play on Shark Week, which is the week where they do a lot of documentaries and information on sharks on the Discovery Channel. And Natalie of KnittyKnatty does a play on that called Sock Week, where you have this goal to knit one whole sock, start to finish, in 7 days. And this year, some people were really motivated to do an entire pair of socks. I did not do that. I barely finished with the scrape of my teeth on one of them. And I believe I talked about that in my last podcast. So anyways, this yarn is this beautiful, let's see if I can get it to look. It's kind of like a really light teal color. It's got a little bit of some darker teal in it and some white in it. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. And it came with a mini of red that together they were called Shark Attack. So I have a lot of this left over, and I knit one pair, so this is a hoe or a half object, for the pinstripe socks. And it was kind of nice to see it in more of a tonal colorway. I'm trying to make it so you can really see. There we go. And so that's my hoe, my half object, and I have just barely started the second one. I want my testers to be done September 28th. Today is September 16th, and so far they are flying and I am dragging my feet. But it will get done. The other whip I'm working on, actually I have quite a few. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, this one. I am part of a group that is organized by KnittyKnatty. It's called the Love and Stitches membership. And in that group, you pay a monthly fee to be part of a Discord group. You have special Zooms together that anybody can join in. There's one almost every day. And then KnittyKnatty, or Natalie, does like special events. Like we have interviewed yarn dyers. We did a knitting in the park night. And it's just a really great way to connect with other knitters and be inspired to try new things, or inspired to just really enjoy something that you love that fills your cup. So one of the Zoom groups, there's Alana and Holly Beth, and they work together really, really well, and they tend to do their Zoom groups with the same theme. And it's almost always, I think it's always been socks so far. So this month's theme is Celebrity Sock Along. So you would choose either a pattern or a colorway or both, and choose like a celebrity that it reminds you of, or you could do opposite and choose a celebrity and then find the yarn or the pattern that matches it. So I've had this yarn in my stash since my yarn crawl. Haven't really known what to do with it. It is slightly on the thick side of fingering weight. And so I decided, because I am in love with Anna Kendrick right now, that these are going to be my Anna Kendrick socks. So I started knitting them. This is what it looks like. And it doesn't look it on camera, but there is a lot more black in it than I imagined there would be, which is really darkening it. I kind of thought the black would be like spiced, but it's not. So I was going to do a pattern. I was going to do Hermione's Everyday Socks, but I think with how dark this is, it's going to be really difficult to actually see the pattern. And so I don't want to be frustrated with that. So this is now going to be vanilla socks, my vanilla Anna Kendrick socks. And I have had this so long, I don't have a band, so I have no idea what color or what dyer. So if you're watching this and you're the dyer, I am so sorry. All right, Anna Kendrick socks. Let me move this one out of the way. And then I knit my husband a hat every year for the colder months. And this year I had picked out this yarn during the yarn crawl. Okay, sorry about that. We have this adorable puppy, and she usually doesn't come in my room because I leave my door closed. And she came in and, of course, wants to play with all the yarn. She's like a cat when it comes to that. She just loves my yarn. So, back to topic. I build my... I'm just going to roll with that. I build my husband a hat every winter, or in preparation for winter. And this is the color I picked out at my yarn crawl. It's going to be kind of hard to see. It is mostly a deep brown, but it's got kind of darker tones of brown. It's similar to that. And sometimes in the light it has like a little hint of green. And it's really soft. So I'm knitting that for him. It is by Encore Yarns. Let's see. It is by Plymouth Yarn Company. Encore must be the base. It's a knitting worsted weight. So it is 75% acrylic, 25% wool, and the colorway is 1444. Kind of a boring colorway. Anyway, I'm knitting a hat out of that, and I was going to do the Muffleberg, which is a hat where you start with your increases, then you build it like a sock in stockinette, and then you decrease and tie off or bind off, and then you kind of tuck one end into the other end, and it makes this really nice double layered hat. So I was thinking, like the nice wife that I am, that I was going to make the Muffleberg hat out of this worsted weight and kind of see how it goes, so he would have an extra comfy hat. So I got about this far, and I'll talk about this whip in a minute. So I got about this far, which doesn't look like much, but considering you're increasing almost every round, it is quite a bit. And he said, "Oh, what are you making?" And I said, "Your hat." And he said, "Well, why are you starting from the top?" He's like, "I don't want to have a chimney, or butthole as he calls it. I don't want to have an opening there." And so I explained that, you know, most of it's together, some of it's not, and this would be the end that gets tucked up. And he was like, "What are you talking about?" So I explained the Muffleberg and how it's double layer hat. And he, being the lovely pain in the rear that he is, told me that he doesn't want a hat like that. It'll be too thick, and he sweats. And I'm like, every year you want me to make you a hat so you're warm, but if I want to make it warm this year, it's too hot. So forget it. So, because I already spent a lot of work on this, and I have quite a few skeins of this yarn, I decided that I was going to frog it back. And then my son Michael, who's 15, was like, "Oh, I would love a double layered warm hat for hunting." So I'm going to continue this since I have a lot of this yarn. It is relatively cheap yarn in terms of cost. I know exactly where I got it. So if I need more, I can certainly go. Okay, hopefully this podcast is not totally bananas when you're watching it. I am using a program called Wondershare, and I am recording directly from the program, and I'll be like heavily into conversation with you and then realize that it doesn't look like it's recording. But what's happening is apparently it gets to a certain amount of time and it stops. And I don't know if it's my computer misbehaving or the software misbehaving. So when I'm stitching things together, I don't know if it's exactly going to line up. So if there's a gap that doesn't make sense, I will either get rid of that topic together, or I will just make like a black screen that explains what was missing so that the two segments will make sense. Bear with me, it's probably going to be a bit messy. But I was talking about if I needed more yarn for the hats, I would certainly do that. And that I am at the very tiny beginning of my husband's hat. He has a ginormous head. And when I say ginormous, I mean it. His stitch count for his head is 172 stitches. I think that's crazy. So I was talking about how I had started it on a size 10 in a pinch, started the ribbing, and then when I got home, I put it on a size 8, and I didn't think about the cord length. So the cord length was larger than what I would usually use for a hat. And so therefore, it was making it kind of stretched out, so it was messing with my gauge. So word to the wise, not only do your needle sizes mess with your gauge, but also your cord length. So something to bear in mind. So after I frogged it, I cast on with the longer cord so that I could measure around his head and make sure it was okay. And then I cast on to a size 6 on my normal size for hat knitting. I think it's a 16 inch, but I could totally be off base. I don't usually pay attention. It's an eyeball thing. Okay. And then I was heavily in the middle of talking to you about what's really exciting me. I have been working on this sock knit pattern that I have been hinting about forever. And I have been playing with it. I have an exact idea in my head of what I want it to look like. But when I'm knitting it or playing with the stitches, it's hard to find the stitches I want that are going to transcribe the way that I want it to look. And so there's been a lot of trial and error. I've never made it to the heel of a sock with this pattern. I have always kind of ripped back and started again because I want it to look different. And I have probably 8 pages of chicken scratch and pictures of how I want it, and this worked, this didn't work, yada yada. To the point where sometimes when I look at it, I don't even understand what I'm trying to tell myself. But I do think I finally landed on the stitch pattern or the stitches and how to play with them to show what I want. And so these socks have been inspired by Crescent City. They're called Starborn Socks. And I had first knit it on a heavily variegated yarn, which would make it hard to see anyways. And it was kind of messy because I would try something, it didn't work, so the next row I would fix it. So I knew it wasn't going to be something to show anybody, but it was helping me practice like what works, what doesn't work. And then I tried it a couple of times, like the way I figured it out based on that trial sock. Needless to say, it is still a work in progress, but I think I have it. I think I can make it to the heel of this sock and hopefully send it to some test knitters shortly and hopefully release it in a couple months. I'm hoping. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. And because it's kind of condensed on my stitches, it might be a little difficult to kind of see what is going on here. So this is called the Starborn Socks. It's supposed to look a little bit like Sunburst. It's got some peek holes here. Let's see if I can get, I guess that's as best as I can get today. But there it is, and obviously I want it in a bright color that is kind of like a tonal so you can see the stitch pattern, but also because it ties in the theme of Starborn. Okay, any other whips? Yes, I have learned how to crochet. Obviously, I have a lot left to learn, but I can do basic chain, a single crochet, and a double crochet. Proficiently, I have no idea. But I have decided that I will make a blanket because I can play with the stitches, I can learn different stitches, and they don't necessarily have to be in pattern or in order. It'll be kind of like a sampler. Let's see here. Oh, poopsicle. My needle fell out. So I got this ball of yarn. It's completely acrylic. It is a Bernat yarn, so actually it's not Bernat, it's a Karen yarn. It's a big cake. The colorway is Toffee Brickle, and it's got this really nice fall colorway palette. And I am making a blanket, like I said. And so far in this blanket, I've done obviously the chain to get it started, and some single crochet and some double crochet, and that's my ugly hole, so that wasn't a really good good place to hold it. So I'm pretty excited about it. I know if you're someone who's been crocheting for a while, you're probably thinking this is nothing to write home about, but just like with knitting, when you start something new, it's not going to be perfect right away. My sister crochets before knitting, and she's really, really good at it. So I've been picking her brain a lot. Like, I should probably pay her a consultant fee. Okay, so there's that. Is that all my whips? I think it is, but I have this huge list of things I want to cast on. So, finished objects. I skipped right past finished objects. So I've got that pattern that's finished, and at Test Knitters for pinstripe socks, I have... Come on over. My Nemo socks, and this is a vanilla sock out of the Sunfish sock set that I got on my yarn crawl. I do not remember who the yarn is from. It's a self-striping yarn with a complementary orange. And during one of the Zoom groups, the knit groups with Alana and Holly Beth, there was one where it was knit from your favorite movie. And so I had this colorway already, and I thought, oh, I can make Nemo socks because I love Finding Nemo. So that set is done and blocked. And then I got this really great yarn at the Knit in Public Day. It's by Fiber Stash Yarn Company. I think it's called You're Just As Sane As I Am. Something like that. I've talked about it a lot. And so these are my shorty vanilla socks, and they are blocked. I have short round feet, so they look kind of a funky sock shake, but they look more like a sock on my feet. So there's that set. And then these ones, I have not woven in the ends, and I have not blocked them. So it's in this lovely colorway. It is, I think, a colorway from the Yarnable. No, it's Suburban Stitcher Beneath the Surface that I also got for Sock Week. And come on, thing, get out of the way there. This is Kay's Whisper in the Winds sock pattern. Not sure I'm doing it justice. It's a very pretty pattern. There. Okay, so I've got that set that needs to be blocked and ends woven in, which I hate weaving in ends. I believe that's it for finished objects. Yes. Okay, so acquisitions. This is really exciting. So I have been doing the Yarnable subscription box by Hypnotic Yarn for a few months, and I really love it. You get this nice hand-dyed skein of yarn. There's a different theme every month, and you also get a bunch of little goodies with it. And because I haven't been sharing them as I'm getting them, I'm a little confused as to what colorway went with what month and what exactly the goodies were, but I will share with you what I have beside me. So this colorway is called Wildflowers, and I do know that this came with some bee, like honeycomb stitch markers, seeds for bird, like for flowers for birds, oh, that's seeds for flowers to encourage the bees to come and pollinate, and some bee-based hand sanitizer. And there's this one, which I love. It's got a lot of pinks and oranges, which are my two favorite colors right now. This one is called Sweet and Sour. And I don't remember exactly what things came with it, but I do know that one of the packages got this nice little checklist that says things to do before I can knit. It has today's goal, it has you check off water, priorities, appointments, notes, reminders, and to do. And then down at the bottom, this is really cute. It says pick your project. And it's this nice notebook of those. I haven't used it, but I should use it. And it also had, like a little, I think they call it rocket pops when I was growing up, but it's a popsicle that has red, white, and blue on it. That was a stitch marker and a sticker, which I think I stuck on a computer or something. And then this one's so pretty. So pretty. It's got like a nice cream base, but then it's got so many different spackled colors. Like that looks kind of like fall foliage, but then on this side it's got this nice like, I don't know how to explain it. There's like teals and blues, and it kind of like blends and rolls into each other. Super pretty. This one's called Born to be Mild, and it was all about relaxing. So you had a sloth air freshener, a sloth paper clips. These are so cute. I can't wait to use them. Aren't they adorable? Yeah, there we go. And then sloth snack packs. So these are some resealable snack packs that you can use. And I don't really know what I want to make with them, but I like want to just like cast it all on and see how the yarn plays together. I'm very excited. And then of course I got my Learn to Crochet Kit by Red Heart. And so this is showing me some basic patterns, or yeah, basic patterns and stitches. And it also came with some needles and some notions for crochet. And I got that at Michael's. That is a bad store to get lost in. And yeah, I'll show that one. This one I got at Michael's as well. Or maybe I got it at Joann Fabrics. I got it at one of the crafting places. So this is Annie's Halloween book. It's a 2021 special issue, and it has a bunch of Halloween projects. It has crochet projects, knit projects, quilting projects, and sewing projects. And I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but I want to show you the things in here that I definitely need to make. Hold on, I should have flagged them. Okay, so this is a Hocus Pocus pillow. So I definitely want to make that. But then it also has one where there's witch's boots. Here it is. Witch's boots. So I think I'm going to make one side the Hocus Pocus and the other side the witch's boots. The witch's boot one says the Owens sister pillow, and the other one says Hocus Pocus pillow. Let's see. There is a spider web. It looks like a shawl or a throw, and it is a spider web. It is crochet, so I probably won't be able to make it till next season. I want to be a little more confident in my crochet skills before I make it. Oh, here's one I can make. Knitted pumpkins. That'll be a nice decoration. I'll probably make those this year. Uh-oh. I probably should have looked up the page number and done it that way. Ah, here it is. Look at that. How gorgeous is that? Stunning. So I'm hoping to make that next year. Okay, so that was jumping ahead a little bit about some of the patterns I'm looking at, but there'll be more to share in just a little bit, I promise. Okay. Also, I won one of our knitting social night competitions. I guess that's the wrong word. Prizes. So during KnittyKnatty's lives or social groups, you comment and interact with her, and she picks a random winner to win some goodies. So I won this awesome bag. This is by White Rose Fiber Company, and it's you know, kind of looks like a postage stamp with a letter and script. It's got some lemons on it, some flowers on it, but then it also has butterflies, which I love butterflies. There we go. So that is by White Rose Fiber Company. It's got this really cute flower for the zipper pull. Ooh, it has a lobster claw, so it can actually be a progress keeper. And it is nicely lined, so I can't wait to use that. I'll probably put one of my socks in it. And then the other one is yarn by Pretty Twisted Yarns. And it looks like there's a sticker in here too. Let's open it up. Okay, so this is a sticker. This is Pretty Twisted Yarns. I've never used any of their yarn before, so it's pretty exciting. The colorway is called MK. It's on their Lush base, which is 75 merino and 25 nylon. Colorway MK. This is the main skein. I think it's probably self-striping, but I won't know. And there's a lot more purples in it that it's showing up. It looks more like blue on the camera right now, but it is definitely some purples. And then it comes with this really cute purple and white mini skein. Okay, so thank you, Natalie of KnittyKnatty, and I am very excited to try your yarn, Pretty Twisted Yarns. I'm very excited. I have heard of your company, but I have just never worked with any of your products yet. Is that it for acquisitions? I believe so. So I'm going to take a minute to talk a little bit about my business. So I have been slowly evolving into the idea of having a business called KnittaCass Creates. I am starting the podcast to kind of get my foot out there and meet people and get some followers. But I did release a pattern at the beginning of this year called Eggnog Bliss Mitts. And so I just want to show those to you. I think I have them on one of my podcasts. They're very cozy and very soft. I knit them with some sport weight and some mohair. And it's got a pearl thumb. Hard to see with the hazelness or the haziness of the. That's the stitch pattern. It's got this nice kind of quilted fun look. And my favorite part is the part that took me the longest, and it has got this nice braided cable. Come on. Hopefully you can see it. It's got a nice braided cable right here on the front of the wrist. So I would greatly appreciate it if you check out this pattern. It's called Eggnog Bliss Mitts, and it is on Ravelry. Okay, and then of course my pinstripe pattern sock will be coming out October 1st, so I'd be really excited to share that with you. And I have a couple more in the works. I feel like now that I've written one up and done like my first time having test knitters, the excitement for all the things that I have been sketching is starting to like want to jump ahead of me. So I have a feeling I'm going to start having a lot of things or a lot of patterns coming forward kind of back to back, depending on how easily I can transcribe them into a pattern and how long it takes to kind of revise them from my test knitters. But I am always going to be looking for test knitters. So if you're ever interested, go ahead and put a comment below and let me know. You can also find me at Instagram My handle is KnittaCass16. You can send me a private message there, or you can find me on Ravelry as KnittaCass, and you can send me a message there. And then I will try to also put an Instagram post asking for test knitters. I'll try to put it in my post in my story for the next round of test knitters. So if that's something you're interested in, hang tight and look for those. I think that's it for right now. I did my acquisitions. Okay, things I want to cast on. So I definitely want to do the Hocus Pocus pillow, and on the other side the witch's boots called the Owen Sisters pillow. I want to knit those little pumpkins, and I want to knit these little witches. Oh my god, they're so cute. Shoot, I should have brought that in. Okay, so I will put a picture up here, and I'll put in the text box who it's by. I think it's by Susan B. Anderson, and it's like these tiny little witches, a little witch hat, they're holding a little witch broom, super, super cute. So I'm actually hoping I can reward myself for doing my to-do list today and sit down and hopefully crank out one of those little tiny witches. So I'm kind of excited. I'm a wicked geek about that kind of thing. And I absolutely love Halloween. If I could have my house decorated for Halloween all year long, I would. If I could paint my house like a giant jack-o'-lantern, I would. I would get divorced. But I love my husband a little too much to do that to him. Just a little bit. But I would if I had the choice. Okay, and then let's see, stuff on the farm. So I am a first-time owner of sheep, and I am starting this sheep farming thing, and some days it's great and some days it's not, which is par for the course, especially since this first year is going to be a learning year. So I did have this really awesome lady that I have heard about through word of mouth and a couple of Facebook pages related to sheep and goats that does sheep shearing. And so she came and she gave my babes a nice haircut. I'm not sure if I shared it before, but I had tried to do it myself. My husband and my mother-in-law had tried. My father-in-law had tried. It was a hot mess. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. And I literally had watched like 100 YouTube videos. I hand wrote the steps when I was reading it, because that's something I do to help me with like my memory. Like if I write it down, it's better. I even laid out the step-by-step pictures. Couldn't do it. And I was so mad I cried. That's okay. Anyways, so this really awesome lady named Mary came and sheared my sheep. So I'll show you some pictures. They look super adorable. Their pattern of their fur or their wool, the colorway, shall we, was a lot more prominent again when they were sheared. So that's cool. And then I was really excited to see in the last week or so that they still have quite a bit, or not still, they have regrown quite a bit of wool. So in the spring, it's probably going to be a really heavy amount of wool, which makes me super happy. I was also contacted by somebody who found my name on the sheep page on Facebook. And she is making a project. She hasn't told me exactly what it's about, but she is collecting fiber from farms around Vermont and kind of making a project to display what that fiber looks like, and is willing to pay the shipping costs for me to ship it to her, ship my wool, and also kind of put me on the map, like on her project. Like I'll be, you know, my farm name will be there, which is Fun Never Ends Farm, and like my yarn and the type of sheep I have will be there. So that's pretty cool. More to come as I learn about it a little bit more. What else? Oh, and I'm pimping out Goliath. So my girls are a little too small to be bred this year, especially because they are Finn sheep, and Finn sheep are notorious for having a large amount of litters. So twins almost always. Triplets are pretty common. Quadruplets happen. In a rare occasion, they can have 6 babies. So they really need to be in good shape. They need to have enough, you know, kind of fat on them. Not overweight, but fat. Good nutrition, not stressed. You know, kind of hardy, used to land. that kind of thing. When I first got them, I thought, okay, I'm just going to breed them and we're going to go and do this awesome thing. But the lady Mary, who came to shear my sheep, really went over a lot of things with me on how to be successful and kind of do it right and take my time to make sure that the animals are good and to make sure that I've learned a lot before I jump into it. Her concern that she shared with me is that if I bred them this year, because they're yearlings, so they're younger, and she said they were a little on the underweight side, that I would most likely be bottle feeding lots of sheep this winter, and it would be exhausting, and it would be really hard on me, and it would also be hard on my sheep. So we decided to delay it. Long story short, I will be pimping out my guy, Goliath. He is a singlet, so he is kind of like a giant sheep. He didn't have to share any nutrients in the womb or any of his mom's breast milk. I think you call it breast milk. Anyways. And I'm going to be pimping him out. So I have a couple people who might be interested in borrowing him for the breeding season to breed their flock, or whatever selection of their flock they choose to breed, for a fee to me, which helps make some income, but also helps other people because they don't have to buy another ram to impregnate their ladies. And there's a bunch of things to consider for genetics. Crossbreeding you want to be intentional about. Purebred breeding, you got to make sure they're registered. But you also, obviously can't take the dad and have the dad breed with the kids. So you've got to be creative about how you do that. So I think I'll be pimping him out pretty soon. I'm a little sad to see him go, but I'm kind of excited to see how that goes for the other farmer and what kind of babies he makes. So stay tuned. I might have more of that. Keep in mind, however, that breeding season is typically in November, and anywhere from March to May is typically when they birth. Well, I will have Goliath back before that. I'll have Goliath once the ewes that they want to breed have successfully shown proof of pregnancy and are doing well. Is that it about the farm? I think so. Books. My favorite part. Okay, books. I am in the middle of the third book by Leigh Bardugo. It is the Shadow and Bone series. I am super loving it. I actually have a sock pattern in my head called Rosalio about one of the dragons. I'm not going to go into detail because I don't read it, but one of the dragons I think it's in book 2, but I could be wrong. Anyways, it inspired me to do a sock pattern. So you might be seeing that in a little while, probably further down the road because it's still in rough sketch form and I haven't played with the stitches yet. So I'm reading that book. I'm also in the middle of Curious Minds, which is a book by Janet Evanovich and Phoefe Sutton. I don't know who that is. But it is the Moon and Night series, and it's also very good. It's super captivating. It's kind of a brain fluffy book with a lot of humor, so that's perfect. And then I'm reading this book with my sister. It's called The Invisible Life of Addie Larue, and it's about this woman who gets cursed, essentially, to live forever, but no one notices her or remembers her, and she spends so much time trying to leave her mark on the world, and it doesn't work. And then one day things change. And I think I just got to the part of when things change. So I'm very, very excited. I'm torn between knitting or reading this later because I haven't quite figured out how to read and knit at the same time. Maybe today would be a good day for practice. And then I'm also I'm actually listening to it on audiobook, The Lost Apothecary. Oh my gosh. So in the 11 Stitches membership, we have a thread and a book club, and so we vote, we nominate books, then we kind of all vote on it as a group. A book is chosen, we read it, and then we do a discussion. So the book that we chose was The Lost Apothecary, and it's about an apothecary who helps create creative ends, potions, pills, well, not pills, but apothecary things that help women who are scorned by men or unsafe because of men. And there's also a girl in the future who's kind of uncovering some of this information, and it flashes between her in the future and then present day in the future, but also floats back to the original time frame of the apothecary and kind of things that are happening, and it's very addicting. I have a long list of books I want to read, but I did not bring it with me. I had this pamphlet from the library and a pamphlet from Amazon on a list of the greatest summer reads, and I have maybe only knocked off 3. So it might be a year-long list of reads. I believe that's it. And for mental health, so I always do a segment on mental health. It's super important to me and my family and my life. I suffer from bipolar. Actually, I shouldn't say suffer. I'm doing really well. I'm really stable. I've learned a lot about myself and self-awareness. And so I would like to help end the stigma of mental health, share my story a little bit, not details, but that I'm here. I'm not somebody to be afraid of. I'm not somebody to be judged. And hopefully when people see that, they will be kinder to other people with different diagnoses, because we're still people and we should not be defined by our diagnosis. Anyways, mental health. So today's mental health segment is going to be on helping other people. So one of the best ways when you're really feeling kind of lousy and kind of crummy, or you're battling feelings of worthlessness, or you just can't get out of your head, a good way to do that, or to fix it or move forward, kind of get rid of some of that negative loop in your head, is to do something kind for someone else. It's incredible how much you feel better. It improves your general sense of cheeriness versus depression, but it also validates your worthiness, which I know a lot of people, when you're depressed or anxious or anything, negative mental health, you kind of get stuck in this wheelhouse of feeling worthless or less than. And so by doing something for someone else, it shows you and reinforces the positive part that you are capable, you are able, you're competent, you've got a lot of value, you are worth things, worth it. And so it can be really simple or really complex. I would go with simple, especially the worse you're feeling. It can be something as simple as writing a letter, sending a text message, sending a card, writing a card, making a picture. It's just sending somebody a little message like, hey, I was thinking about you. Or spending time with them, doing an errand, cooking for them. Whatever you think that you can handle, and doing it for someone else is just going to make you feel so much better in that moment. And the thing about this, because it's a healthy coping mechanism, it creates that positive loop to come back to you, so you continue to feel better. And it's like reverse dominoes. Instead of one bad thing just carrying over and making a bunch of bad things just go, it's kind of the other way. So it creates a staircase of success. So you do something good, it feels good, you want to do some more, and you're kind of climbing out of that negative headspace, and you're building a staircase, which feels great. So recently I have been going through a lot of rough stuff, and that's part of life, things happen. And so I made some shepherd's pie for my in-laws, and the amount of joy that brought me, and the amount of time that day that it took me out of my funk, was incredible. So I highly recommend it. It can be as simple as picking fresh flowers and putting them in a vase. So I believe that's it. As always, I hope you are doing well. I hope your family and friends are doing well. I hope that you do something to fill your cup, whether it be knitting, sewing, reading, singing, can't think of anything else, anything that makes you happy. Go fill your cup and like and describe. Go fill your cup. Nurse's orders. Thank you all for watching, and if you so choose, I would greatly appreciate it if you liked and subscribed to my channel, and I will see you again hopefully soon. Bye!